If you follow me on social media, it's no secret that I have a healthy collection of hacking hardware, devices, toys, maybe, arguably, questionably. But Exhibit A, for example, is just a small collection of some of the hacking related equipment that I own. There's also the shelves behind me, which house quite a lot of other cool stuff. But one such device that I want to draw your attention to today is the Hak5 Shark Jack. Now, in this video, we're going to be blurring the lines between hardware tinkering and repair and hacking equipment and tools, primarily because I need to repair this Shark Jack. Now, the Shark Jack came in a few different versions. This is the earliest version, I think the first revision of it. Later revisions ditched the battery and they have a tethered USB cable, which is cool, but I kind of liked the idea of this being just a standalone device that I could just plug into a network port and have it do stuff and things. This particular Shark Jack of mine was mainly configured for doing Nmap scans. Now, if you're not familiar with the terminology, I'm really going to try and stay on point of this being a repair video, but I also want to explain some stuff as I go. So an Nmap scan basically looks across the network to see what devices are on there, what responds, what services are running on those devices. So it's a really cool little reconnaissance tool. But the tiny little lithium battery inside it has started to swell up. So I've managed to source a replacement online that I think should fit. So we're going to get that fitted into the Shark Jack now. So I'm going to switch to top down and we're going to blow this little bugger apart. In top-down mode now, you can see here I have a sealed copy of Alpha Protocol for the Xbox 360 for scale. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see there, that there battery is tiny. I don't know why I'm using Alpha Protocol as a unit of measure, but it was on my desk. And yeah, it gives you an idea of how small that battery is. So just to familiarize you with the hardware of the Shark Jack really quickly. So it's a tiny little self-contained SOC, I think. It runs a distribution of Linux. I'm not sure what distribution of Linux it is. I probably should have looked this up. So with the help of some movie magic, I was able to quickly run away and Google what version of Linux this runs, and it runs OpenWRT. So in here is a tiny little PC, if you will. I hate using that term, but it's a tiny little computer that runs a version of Linux. So you can do a lot of the things that you can do on Linux. Now, it also has, if we remove this cap, an RJ45 port on this end. So if you imagine this as being a tiny little Linux PC with a network interface that you can plug straight into anything that will take an RJ45. So the biggest use case that I mentioned earlier for me was doing Nmap scans. So if you imagine you go into an office and there's network ports all over the place, like in reception and in the meeting room, there's just network ports because obviously getting people connected to the network and working is advantageous in any sort of environment. Anywhere you can plug a cable in and get online, you can plug the Shark Jack in and do reconnaissance. So that's all kind of self-contained in here. You have a little switch here for arming mode, payload 1 and payload 2 mode. So arming mode is where you would configure it for the things you want it to do. And then payload 1 and payload 2 are for it executing the things that you want it to do. So that's just a quick overview of the actual hardware. You can see, unfortunately, that the tab on mine has gotten very weak over time. I believe that was fairly commonplace on these. It was designed to be quite rigid to hold the clip on because it had a little lanyard carrier hole on there. But unfortunately, as a result of it being harder than normal, it's become fragile as well. So yeah, I'm not fixing that today because, to be fair, I don't mind the fact that that still holds it quite well. I wouldn't put it on a key ring, but yeah, it does still hold it well enough for me. So yeah, what we're actually going to do is we're going to stick our thumbnail in the sides. I'm going to go down the sides on this here. It's been a while since I've opened this, so we're figuring this out together. But yeah, prise the plastic housing apart, and you can see in there our spicy little pillow. And you can see it has started to expand and yeah, get all fluffy. One of the biggest downsides to lithium packages like this is when they start to swell, they kind of turn into these things that the internet affectionately refers to as spicy pillows. As a result of this becoming a spicy pillow, the battery life is terrible on it. So yeah, that's why I ordered this little replacement, which I think is going to work. Nope. I think is going to work just fine, to be fair. So I got the model number off somebody on Discord. So I hope they were right. But what we need to do now is we kind of need to get it out of this little housing. So if we just prise it out here, there's a little heatsink pad there. Although it's a plastic housing, Not sure what the choice was there. Last I checked, plastic wasn't a fantastic conductor of heat. If anything, though, it held it in there securely, so that's fine by me. So we're just going to get the stuff that we don't need out of the way. Where did the little red switch go? Did anybody see where that went when I took this apart? Where did the little red switch go? Well, that's really confusing. So when I took it apart, obviously there was a little red switch that sits on the side that you slide up and down. I took everything apart on this mat, so it stayed on the mat. Where the hell did that just go? And what doesn't help is it's a red switch, and my desk pad is red.
Flashback.
Lithium spicy pillow.
End of flashback.
Found it. When I picked it up and I did this, it must have gone boop. Anyway, we got distracted then. We need to get this battery off. So if we look here, we can see that the battery's stuck to the circuit board, and then there's just two wires coming off it which go into these two teeny tiny little through hole solder points. Now there is a very good chance I'm going to need the microscope for this. And it's been a hot minute since I used the microscope. Step one is going to be getting this spicy pillow off of the circuit board. So if we just come in here and just pry this up, it's stuck down there quite well, but it does come off, so we can see that there. And we've got a little charge controller there. Does this charge controller match? See if I can zoom in a bit more. Oh, we can. We're on digital zoom now though. Yeah, so size wise it's almost identical, apart from the fact that this one has obviously started to swell. So yeah, I think we're going to be good there. I do need to be really careful because somebody very kindly put some tape on the end of this wire here so these two didn't short in transit, but they didn't actually put the tape on the end of the wire. So yeah, be careful that we don't short those. Obviously during removal of this, we need to be careful that we don't short this. In fact, I'm going to snip it off. I'm just going to cut it off now so it's safe. So to remove this battery, what I'm going to do now, no, I'm not. I'm going to get some snips. I'm going to cut the positive lead right near the bottom, and then I'm going to cut the negative lead further at the top. The reason for that is so that these two don't actually accidentally touch. If I'd have gone through and cut them both at the same time, there's a good chance they could have shorted through these, but just cutting them offset like that means that I can safely just discard that. And we are now left with this. So, need to remove these wires from these two tiny solder points. Can we get you even closer? Nope, that's as close as I can get you. But yeah, you can just see there, two teeny tiny little soldering points. So we know what I'm going to need next. It's the soldering iron. If anybody's wondering, I use a pine saw. I think it's a cracking little soldering iron. So yeah, that's the soldering iron that I'm using for this. And the tip that I'm going to be using on it, we're going to swap it out for this really pointy one. It's USB-C powered as well, so all you need is a USB-C PD power cable, and you're off to the races and you're soldering. And what I might do as well is I might just chuck a quick cut in and move some stuff around on my desk so that I can get my microscope out, because I fear we may need it. So switch to the digital microscope now, just so you can have a slightly better look at what's going on with the Shark Jack. These are the two wires that we need to attack here. So if I flip this over, you can see these two tiny little solder points awfully close together as well. Interesting choice. So yeah, just having a quick scoot around the main board now, just for a nosy. So you can see we've got the USB-C port on this end. If we flip it over, we've got the payload selection switch and the arming switch there. There's this little button down here, a little push button, which I'm not familiar with. See if we can push it. Yeah, a little push button. No idea what that does. Little 40 megahertz crystal there. Call it a crystal. I don't know what you call it. Oscillator? Crystal? I have no idea. So yeah, little squiz around the board, just for people who are nosy. We've got a little TX and RX pin and a ground there, which I presume are for doing like UART and diagnostics during the manufacturing process. But yeah, what we really want is these two wires just here. So I'm just going to heat the soldering iron up, and I'm also going to get my little helping hands, just so I can hold this whilst I remove these two wires. I'm not used to looking at a microscope. Thing is as well, is if I just quickly switch to top down, oh, no, that doesn't help. You can't see. Okay. The digital microscope that I bought is a Tomlov. I really like it. It's a cracking little digital microscope. I did buy it. They didn't send me it. The only issue that I have with it is when I plug it into my PC via USB to capture what you can see on screen, the screen on the actual microscope just doesn't work. It just shows like a computer icon. It would be really nice if it could simultaneously show me on the actual digital microscope display and output to my PC at the same time, but it can't. So I'm kind of looking at my PC screen in OBS, which is a small window, by the way. Currently looking at my screen in OBS whilst trying to solder stuff. Now, it would be considerably easier if I was looking where my hands were, but instead I'm looking kind of roughly where my hands need to be, and then I'm looking up to look at the actual digital microscope. So anyway, enough talk. Let's get this wire out of here. So tiny little end. If you're sticking with me, I appreciate you. Right, let's go. Ow, that got hot real quick. And I've just pulled the sheathing off instead of removing the actual wire. Let's get some tweezers. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing here, but it's really difficult to get everything in shot. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab this wire with my tweezers. I'll put it back in the little helping hands. It does not want to let go of these wires, does it? Come on. There we go. So I've just added an extra little helping hand. Let's see if we can get this out of here now. He thinks I should just go for the thicker soldering iron tip, but I was worried that I'm just going to mash everything on this circuit board if I do that. Why is it not letting go? Come on, just leave. Scram. She doesn't want to talk to you. But let's put just a little bit of solder on the tip of my iron here. See if we can convince this wire to leave. Thought it was coming then, but that's just a tweezer slipping. I have no idea what's going on here. Oh, they gone? Did we do it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. So now what I need to do is I need to get in here with a solder sucker and try and clean these holes out so that I can get the new battery in. Put you in there. Yeah, put you in there, solder sucker on there, and go. There's one empty through hole. Cool. Now we're going to do the same on here. Still kind of the wire stuck in there though, which is causing some issues. Let's try the side. Okay, seemed. Oh, come on. Oh, I can see through both holes. Can I? I think I can. Oh, I can. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to have a look at this under the microscope. Just make sure that there's no wires bridging or anything that's going to bite me in the ass when I put this battery in. You'll be able to see this as well if we do it under this camera. Should have maybe tried doing this anyway originally. But yeah, let's do a little zoom magic. Yeah, so you can see there's still some crap in that hole. I can't get it out. It just does not want to let go. If I flip it over, you can see that both holes there are empty. There's not a lot of space between those, is there? Not a lot at all. But yeah, both of those are now empty. So I'm going to get the leads. Get the leads for this battery popped through and solder it back together, hopefully. The battery went on there like that. Oh. Did the wires go under and in? Or did they go in and the battery laid over? I can't quite remember. Let's consult the video. That's why I film these things. I like to think I'm making them for you, so you can watch them. But really, it's so I don't forget A, how stupid I am, and B, how it went together. So I've consulted the Oracle, and I can tell you that the wires went in through the top. So I'm just going to check with this ground wire, or the negative lead, sorry. I'm just going to double check that that goes in where I want it to. That will pass through there, which it will, and I can get it out the other side, and then just on here as well, it will, and we can get it from the other side. So with that, I am happy to solder this back together now. And I'm going to start, I think, and I might be wrong, but I'm going to start with a positive lead because I don't know, come up here for this, I don't know which is safest. So I'm going to just start with the positive lead, which was on the outside, I think. Yep, so the positive lead goes on the outside, and the way this was soldered together, it was actually like this, and then that lead came down. So that takes up all the extra length on the lead. Now, to be honest, I don't think these leads are going to be long enough. Oh no. No, it's not quite long enough to reach in there. So I'm going to have to instead go from this angle and have some excess leadage, which I don't think it's going to be a massive problem. So yeah, not ideal, not the way it was originally built, but anything's better than the spicy pillow that we currently have. So yeah, I'm fixing it still. So what I've done is I've popped a little bit of flux on there. I'm going to pop the live terminal. I'm going to pop the positive end just through there. And then I'm going to take my soldering iron. I'm going to pick up some solder on the tip as it warms back up. Pick up some solder just by rubbing it along. Some solder. Then I'm going to come in here and, in fact, I need it on the tip. On the tip of my iron. There we go. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to try and solder that onto this. And I've got a nice little solder blob. Nice. Yeah, not letting gravity help me here, actually, which is probably a terrible mistake. Let's slide this down. Slide this flat. Come on. See if we can pick up this solder ball. Move on to this wire, which we can. Cool. So as hopefully you might have been able to see there, as soon as I grabbed that solder ball and I pulled it over to the actual joint, it gripped everything then. A little bit more. There we go. That wire is quite long, so I will end up, in fact I'll do it now before it bites in the ass. Just coming in with the flush cutters, just to cut that flush. As I say, this is tiny. This is the smallest thing I've personally soldered before, I think. So yeah, that's on there, that's in. I'm happy with that. And if we have a look there, make sure we've no bridging, which we don't. In fact, look, there's still quite a lot of wire sticking out there. Let's see if we can just snip that off. Which we can. There we go. A little bit happy with that. So yeah, so that's the positive lead in. Let's get that negative one in now, hopefully without shorting some stuff out. So I'm going to hold that in place. Whilst I do same trick again, I'm going to grab my soldering iron. I'm going to try and pick up a little bit of solder on the end. Like that. I'm going to come in here again. I'm going to try and convince that solder that we want it to sit on this battery terminal. Ow. Just like that. And that is on there. You can't see very well. But let me just give it a quick scrub with the toothbrush and some isopropyl alcohol. And something I've just noticed as well is the Shark Jack is actually turned on. I don't know if you can see that in the microscope there, but it is on. Yeah, so it lights up the RJ45 end. So at least I know that the fix works, but let's just turn it off because I don't want it doing anything it shouldn't do. And then I'm just going to come in with this ISO, and we're just going to give it a quick, let's get back under the microscope for you. Just going to give it a quick clean there. Just make sure that we've no bridging or anything, which we don't. I'm happy with that. Get it a little bit closer. You see that there, two separate little pads. That is insanely tiny. Not my best work, and I know probably my last two videos haven't been a demonstration of my best work, but let's move this microscope out of the way. Zoom into top-down zoomed, or physically zoom in a little bit. That is tiny. And to be fair, from here, it looks all right. It's only when you're looking at it under the microscope that it doesn't look fantastic. Show me your work under a microscope. Actually, don't. It's probably still better than mine. So yeah, that is on there. And if we turn the Shark Jack on, we put it into arming mode or payload mode, it should boot up, which takes it a few seconds. Actually, I've put it into arming mode. Let's put it into payload mode there. There you go. So the Shark Jack is actually working now. And in theory, if I turn this off and I connect a USB-C cable to it, the one from my soldering iron will do, plug a USB-C cable into it, it should charge. I don't know if this does PD. Probably not going to do PD. Nope. Let's try just a normal USB-C plug that's plugged into something else. Let's try this one. Why is that not charging? Not sure why that's not charging, to be fair, unless it doesn't like these cables. I don't remember if there's any weird charging parameters with the Shark Jack. Oh, it's flashing, okay. Does that mean it's charging? Nope, it's gone off. I don't know. So now that we've got that soldered on there, this teeny tiny little death pillow, let's get it stuck back down, I guess. Oh, there is enough room. There is enough room to stick out, is there? Isn't there? Is there enough room to get that stuck down in there? It'd be pushing it. It wouldn't be ideal, but it can sit there. So that was the original orientation of the battery, but the leads are a little bit short on this one. But we should be okay. So let's see if we can get it back in the case then. Step number one. Can we get it back in here? So it still fits in the case. I've not messed it up that bad. And if we get the little slidey switch selector fitted back on there, so that allows us to choose our arming, switching and payload modes. Now I know the battery should be stuck down, but I don't have anything at the moment that I can use to stick it down. So I'm just going to hope that as we press the case back together, it kind of holds everything where it needs to be, which to be fair it does. The case isn't bulging, the case is back together nicely. We check the cap. The cap still goes on. Of course the cap still goes on. I would have really messed up the soldering job if it didn't, but the cap still goes back on. So if we put it back into payload mode, it should light up in a moment once it boots. There we go. And then if we flick it into the other mode and flick it off. Let me just double check what the charging lights and statuses should be on this. Let's have a look on the website. Let's read the documentation. Okay, so first thing we can see there is we've got the mode. So we've got off, arming and attack. I thought there was payload 1, payload 2, but that's the bash bunny, I guess. So we can see here we've got off, arming and attack, which works okay on this. Shark Jack, right, this isn't the model that we have. This is the one that ditched the battery. So we don't have that one. Charging, the Shark Jack features a non-removable, I beg to differ, non-removable lithium-ion battery. Please read all instructions before using and familiarise yourself. The Shark Jack cable. To charge the Shark Jack, flip the switch to the off/charging position and plug the Shark Jack into a standard USB power source using a USB-C cable. So that makes me think that it won't do PD. So if I unplug the cable for my microscope, which is USB-C going into USB-A, because my microscope doesn't do PD either. If we plug that in, is it going to just start charging? Or have I somehow upset the charge controller? I'm getting no... Oh! Which position am I in? I'm in the off position. So what are the... So it's flashing green. You can see that. It's flashing green. There we go. So yeah, it's flashing green whilst plugged into a USB A to C cable. What's the charging indicator? To charge a Shark Jack, after a brief period indicated by a flashing green LED, the Shark Jack will begin charging. While the device is charging, the LED will blink blue. Okay, can confirm. LED blinking blue. When the device is fully charged, the LED will light solid blue, at which time the device should be disconnected from USB power. Do not overcharge. Do not leave unattended whilst charging. Okay, cool. Just want to double check as well. Just switch back to top down there. Oh, not top down zoomed, that one. I just want to double check if I plug in a USB PD power source. Does it take a minute? Because it did take a minute to start charging before, didn't it? So let's just give it a second and see what it does. Ah, okay. So it will charge on PD. Cool. Okay. I just wasn't being very patient, I guess. So it's charging now. And if we unplug it from charge and we switch it to payload mode, as it boots and it does its thing, which it does. Hey, I'm calling that fixed. It was yet another soldering job that I struggled with, but I've replaced the spicy pillow, which you can see did start to swell up quite a bit there. It's quite fluffy compared to the other one. It's also got some gas trapped in there because I can feel it when I give it a squeeze. Got that replaced. Shark Jack is back together, and nobody would ever know apart from me and you. We know. Whilst I was in there, I did think to myself, I reckon it wouldn't be that difficult to replace the RJ45 connector on this. However, I also didn't think it would be that difficult to change the battery. So, given my current skill level, I'm going to leave that RJ45 connector on there for now. But I'm happy that I've replaced the battery. I can safely dispose of this one. I'll take it to my local tip. They have a lithium ion bin. So I can throw that away in the bin and I can put this back in the case and know that for now, at least, until this one starts to swell, it's much safer and it's not going to cause any safety concerns. So yeah, we fixed something else. Look at us. 2 for 2 so far. So yeah, I don't know what playlist I'm going to put this in. I might put this in the... I'm going to put it in both. Watch me. It's going in both playlists. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Again, if you feel inclined, please hit that subscribe button. It motivates me to do more videos. Don't know if you noticed in the background as well, but I have just recently hit over 600 subscribers. So thank you to everybody who's subscribed recently and everybody who's subscribed in general. I appreciate you all. And thanks for watching.